You want the moon? Just say the word and I'll throw a lasso around it and pull it down.
Look at the stars. The great kings of the past look down on us from those stars. So whenever you feel alone, just remember that those kings will always be there to guide you.
I don't think it is very useful to speculate on what God might or might not be able to do. Rather, we should examine what he actually does with the universe we live in.
We are all explorers, driven to know what's over the horizon. The most profound discoveries are not necessarily beyond that next star. They're within us, woven into the threads that bind us.
Hello, beautiful people. Happy Monday, happy Moon Day, and welcome to a new week, a powerful day. It's 12/12/2022, so we'll touch on the meaning of the number 12 just briefly, but it's also a very special day because it happens to be my mom's birthday. So let's see who she shares her birthday with. Jennifer Conley is a Sagittarius, Frank Sinatra, Mayim Bialik, I am pretty sure I butchered her last name, Regina Hall. Anyone else? Bob Barker is a Sagittarius. Interesting. But of course, nobody is as important to me as my own mother. So sharing some birthday wishes with her. And if you know any other 12/12 babies, any other Sagittarius is celebrating their birthday today, let us know so we can celebrate them too. Grand Rising, Katie, happy to see you here. We also have Nikki here and Nick as well. Thanks for being so patient, everyone, as I was trying to get onto the live stream today. So let's start with just touching on number 12, 12/12. You know, repeating numbers like this are known as angel numbers, and spiritually, there's a lot tied to the Bible with the number 12. Now, that's not me projecting my beliefs onto you. Believe in the Bible, don't believe in the Bible, do whatever you want. But 12/12, you know, Jesus had 12 disciples known as the apostles. 12 is a number that comes up a ton in the Bible. And when you get into synchronicities and spirituality and all the things, you start to see a lot of different information that links back to the Bible, of course, this text that so many different people, cultures refer to. But the number 12 actually today is a 3-day, because if you add up all the numbers 12/12/2022, it equals 30, which simplifies down to 3. So the number 3, and also I just want to point out that I am not a numerologist, but I like to just, on days like today, tap into the numerology before we get into the astrology. So the number 3 is very powerful. Actually, it was so interesting. I was just talking about how humans really love the number 3, but 3 is like the Holy Trinity, right? Birth, life, death cycle, mind, body, soul connection. You can think of it astrologically like a trine, 3 different points that create balance. So it's a powerful day. Whether 12 is an important number to you or not, we can all tap into the power of the day today. But you didn't come here for numerology. You came here for astrology. So let's talk about what's going on in the stars. Katie says, feeling strength from Saturn today, feeling strong, confident, and worthy of peace. And you are tapped in to the energy of the day, because we're going to be talking a lot about Saturn today. The sun is harmonizing with Saturn. Not harmonizing. It's forming a sextile to Saturn, still a supportive angle to Saturn. So we'll break that down. And we're feeling that right now if you're joining me live. But here's the general check on the energy. The sun is in Sagittarius. The moon is in Leo. We're really feeling that fiery energy today. The sun and moon are harmonizing with each other, both of them in fire signs. And there's a lot of passion that could surface today, and just good vibes, honestly. There's playfulness with the sun and moon in these signs. There's confidence, kind of like Katie was just saying, a lot of optimism, a lot of passion, as I mentioned. So really feeling that fire today. But let's break down the main transit we're seeing. So I'll pull up the chart. You can see what this looks like here. The sun at 20 degrees, Saturn at 20 degrees, forming this 60-degree angle to one another that we know as a sextile. And a sextile, 60 degrees, signifies support astrologically. So the sun and Saturn are supporting one another. Well, what does this mean for us? Saturn being the great malefic, the teacher of the zodiac, the father of the solar system, is here to, it's interesting that these two planets are supporting each other, because the sun in Sagittarius is like all the abundance, all the optimism, go big or go home, expansion, growth, all the things. Saturn is more limiting. Saturn kind of likes to pump the brakes and slow us down a little bit. So this feels like pacing ourselves, and Saturn kind of being helpful and being like, how can you rein it in just a little bit? That's not to say we want our growth to be stunted, but Saturn helps us see things through a more practical lens. In the height of bold, adventurous Sagittarius season, Saturn is like, okay, let's just take a step back really quick and see where are we going. Let's look at the map. Sagittarius energy is like, just go, fly by the seat of your pants. And Saturn's like, we need to have a plan. We need to know where we're going and what we're doing. So on like an emotional, personal level, this aspect can help us concentrate. It can give us an extra push to get things done. Saturn can be that responsibility or the maturity that helps hone our energy or channel our energy, because we tend to have more energy during Sagittarius season. So really helping us direct it and concentrate. Saturn brings realism to the optimistic energy of Sagittarius season. We might also find themes of getting advice or giving advice today. Saturn represents wisdom, especially wisdom learned from older generations or elders. So if you're finding yourself contemplating something, it's definitely favored today to ask someone with more experience than you, ask someone older than you, their advice or their experience, what they would do in the situation. Or you might find yourself on the other end of things, sharing advice with someone younger than you or with less experience than you. So this is a great transit to offer advice or receive advice, especially with the sun in Sagittarius. Again, coming back to this theme of expansion, expanding our mind, expanding our awareness. Sometimes we need some guidance from an elder or from someone with just a different life experience than us to help us direct how we're expanding, right? We're really supported in general in integrating lessons today. Saturn being the planet of lessons, boundaries, restrictions. I feel like the sun is shining a light on the lessons we've been learning, and also with this supportive aspect helping us to expand our awareness through integrating lessons. So I know lessons have been coming up quite a bit for a lot of us, especially since that powerful full moon last week. And today feels like a day where it's even sharing what we've learned, kind of going back to that advice giving, or receiving advice from someone else could be part of that integration of these bigger lessons that we're learning right now. Hi, Corby. Happy to see you here. Yes, it's okay to stop and ask for directions. That is a beautiful reflection and a great piece of advice to remember today. If you're feeling like you're moving really quickly or you don't exactly know where you're going, stop and ask for directions. Stop and look at a map. Stop and take a second to plan things out today. It's interesting, like Saturn and Aquarius too can open us to new perspectives as we're learning these lessons. So you might even see things through a new lens by the end of the day. It does feel a lot more practical and logical rather than esoteric, if that makes sense. More getting a new perspective about practical matters than like completely blowing our mind about spirituality or anything like that, but perspective shifts are definitely possible. Ooh, Katie, yes. I feel like I can parent myself today. Yes, yes, yes. Saturn is like our inner parent. So with the sun getting support from Saturn, it's that being able to parent ourselves, being able to direct other people, coming back to getting advice from elders, right? Like being able to be our inner elder as well. I love that. Love that so much. So that's the main energy we're feeling. Something else I do want to point out, we won't spend too much time on this, but Mercury is officially entering its shadow period today. So you can see Mercury at 8 degrees of Capricorn. Mercury will move all the way almost to the end of Capricorn. Then it will station retrograde and move back to this point, and then it will station direct again. So that's how we know a planet is entering its shadow period, when it reaches the point it will get back to during its retrograde. And so this is not something to be worried about necessarily, but pay attention. Remember, Mercury stations retrograde on December 29th. Any communication issues, snags, mishaps, lessons that pop up during the next couple weeks, the next 2.5 weeks now, will likely be revisited towards the beginning of the year as Mercury is retrograde, going back over this path that it's about to go on before it's retrograde. So just a nice frame of reference for anything that pops up. It'll likely be revisited after Christmas or towards the end of the year, maybe even in the new year. So those are the two major planetary updates that you need to know about. Now let's talk about what's going on with the moon. We have the waning gibbous moon in Leo today. And as we touched on over the weekend, the moon in Leo ignites our passions. It helps us tap into our inner child. Really a beautiful energy, as Katie touched on, feeling like she could be her own parent and parent herself today. It's like externally, with the sun forming a sextile to Saturn, we can be responsible, we can be practical, we can be mature. But internally, with the moon in Leo, we still have that spark in our heart, that childlike energy in our heart that wants to play and have fun and be joyful. So remember, the moon is now in its releasing phase, coming off of the full moon. And this is a time where having fun and tapping into joy, tapping into our heart can be really cathartic. And that's a place to start as well. Is it bringing me joy? Am I having fun anymore? If not, it's time to let it go. It's time to release it. So remember that having fun, being silly, doing things your inner child would love to do can be really powerful in helping you release stagnant energy and stagnant emotions, especially as we are really getting into the holiday season. Doing things you love to do as a child, or even carrying on traditions that you started as a child or that you learned as a child, can feel really nurturing under the Leo moon, really honoring and catering to little you, the inner child version of you. Okay, we're experiencing our first moon transit of the day right now. And also, I just want to point out that that sextile between the sun and Saturn is also pretty much exact right now. 10-11 was the exact connection between the two. So we're really feeling that, as well as a T-square between the Leo moon over here and the north and south nodes. Now, for whatever reason, this chart doesn't like to show connections to the north and south nodes, but you can see the moon at 11 degrees, the north and south nodes at 11 degrees, and also at 11 degrees is Chiron. So we've got a mashup of energy right now. Not any major connections between the moon and planets, but because there's so much going on, I want to talk about this. This happens twice a month, that the moon makes a T-square to the north and south nodes. And every time it happens, I tell you, this is an emotional turning point, especially with the moon in fixed signs right now, because the north and south nodes are in fixed signs. It feels like a breakthrough, pushing through resistance, releasing past patterns and versions of ourselves to embrace our future, our calling, our destiny. That's how it feels when the moon squares the north and south node. It could feel like a little bit of discomfort, but it could also feel like Okay, we know where we're going. We got to push forward. I bring up resistance and breakthroughs because fixed signs it's a little more effort to get through, to change. So you might be feeling that resistance, maybe your pride coming up, your ego coming up with the moon in Leo. But I will say, with this trine to Chiron happening at the same time, this dark blue line, we're also able to align with healing more easily. So releasing the past, aligning with the future can feel very healing today. And that can happen pretty naturally if we are willing to kind of follow that internal compass, using joy to release the past and embrace our destiny. So know that if it feels like you're having a breakthrough, if you're feeling a little resistance, but intuitively you know, okay, this is the direction I'm supposed to go, that can be very healing today with Chiron and the moon harmonizing. Then we don't have any other major connections until tonight. And we have another kind of mashup of energies. So I'll pull the chart back up and we'll jump ahead like 6 hours here. Here we go. And you will see the chart looks different. The moon at 14 degrees forming a sextile to Mars retrograde, and at the same time forming a square to Uranus. Okay, so Uranus and Mars both connecting with the Leo moon. Might feel a little bit dramatic. Okay, if we have two planets that like to amp up the drama and create some commotion, it's Mars and Uranus. And if we have a sign that likes the drama, it's the Leo moon. So this is happening between like 5 and 8 p.m. Pacific time, later in the evening Eastern time, obviously. But the sextile to Mars is what we start to feel first as the evening starts to set in. And with it being a sextile to Mars retrograde, yes, it can give us a little surge of energy, a boost of energy when we have this nice support from Mars. But also there is some reflection here with Mars retrograde. And it could be, again, helping you tap into that sense of pride. Like, what are you proud of that you've done? What are you proud of that you've accomplished? And there's a motivation here to do more of what makes you feel proud, what makes you feel successful and accomplished, and like kind of boost your ego a little bit with the moon in Leo. So that could be coming up for you. You might also just feel energized by the moon forming a sextile to Mars. Then, though, when the moon comes into a square with Uranus shortly after, this is when surprises, disruptions, outbursts, mood swings are possible when the moon squares Uranus. I can't say this enough, especially with the moon in Leo. I like to give this warning when the moon is in Leo that yes, it can help us tap into our inner child and help us feel joyful and playful and free and fun and passionate, but also try not to let your inner toddler come out. Let your inner child out, not your inner toddler when the moon is in Leo, because I see the energy tonight creating a breeding ground for maybe temper tantrums. There's this strong urge when the moon squares Uranus to rebel against the status quo, to rebel against authority. And that's when outbursts can happen, right? Or notice within yourself if you're kind of poking the bear, if you're subconsciously trying to create excitement through your own outbursts, through your own mood swings, through your own drama. No judgment. We've all been there, right? We've all been the person that is just like craving some sort of thrill. So we're just kind of poking at other people. But tonight, the moon's in Leo. If you're looking for drama, it's easy to find. If you're looking to avoid the drama, be really mindful about how you're reacting to things, and also give other people a little bit of slack because they might be feeling more rebellious and more prone to outbursts as well. So there's a lot of beautiful energy today, but there are also some speed bumps you might want to be mindful of. Hi, Nikki. Katie says, so aligned for me. I'm letting go of the grief of my parents. This will allow me to be there for my children and myself more fully. Beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah. Releasing the past, aligning with the future. Yes, Katie, feeling that build up to Capricorn season. I have Uranus and Saturn in Capricorn, feeling that push to getting down to the business of healing and getting clarity on how I can do that. yeah, today also feels like a day where we're like really getting this practical view of, again, our expansion with the sun forming a sextile to Saturn. And for many of us, expansion and healing are linked at this point in our lives. So yeah, that's a really beautiful reflection. And I'm definitely feeling that build up to Capricorn season too. We now have Mercury and Venus in Capricorn. So the way we relate to other people is in that Capricorn serious vibe. The way we communicate with other people is very practical and serious too. It's giving us quite a taste of the Capricorn season to come. And I also have to point out, I was very Capricorn of me. I was mapping out the transits for the rest of the year over the weekend, actually, trying to plan out my live streams, when I'm going live, when I'm going to pre-record things, because we'll be traveling. And I realized that Jupiter moves into Aries the day before Capricorn season starts. It just went right over my head. It wasn't in my calendar. So just want to let you all know that it's happening next week. And we'll talk about it as it gets closer, of course, but that was not on my radar when we were doing our Capricorn season preview. I've been talking about like, yeah, Jupiter's going to move into Aries eventually. No, it's happening sooner rather than later. And I like to point this out too, that Jupiter is still at the 29th degree right now. So that energy of a lot is still happening. Jupiter is going to be at the 29th degree for the next week or so. And that's a lot. Jupiter is a lot. The 29th degree is a lot. There's this restlessness, this kind of urge and desire to grow and do and expand with Jupiter at the 29th degree. It's like this eagerness to get into Jupiter and Aries and just do it, but we're not quite there yet. So you might be feeling that restlessness too, of like wanting to do things and wanting to start things, getting excited about the new year. But remember, Mars is retrograde. I would wait until January to really start going full force on new projects or new endeavors, any sort of growth and expansion. Not to say you can't do it right now, but personally, looking at the calendar, that's what I see. Just kind of holding off starting anything new until the new year. Follow your own intuition. You are your own best guide. So take that as you will. So the Leo moon would be opposing more of your Aquarius placements, but I know you also have Aquarius placements, Katie, and that might feel like a little bit of polarity coming up. Even like the Leo moon opposing your sun. I can't remember what degree your sun is at, but that's kind of like a full moon moment for you where you could have some big emotions coming up. So something to keep in mind. Nikki says she's taking it easy today, recovering over a cold, feel like resting at home. It's really cold in Canada. I bet. It's Corby's birthday week. It's on Thursday. Okay, we'll keep that in mind. Can't wait to wish you a happy birthday on Thursday. So she's looking forward to taking things slow, reviewing, acknowledging, celebrating, and letting go this week. Beautiful. And very aligned with the transits today, especially kind of doing that review and what you've accomplished this year, giving yourself credit, having a little fun, giving your inner child a little bit of love. It does feel like a day where there could potentially be like a lot of processing, or I don't see any aha moments, but just kind of observing ourselves, witnessing ourselves a little bit more today, witnessing our emotions. We tend to have more dramatic and big emotions under a Leo moon in general. And there's a lot to be learned from all the emotions that come up throughout the day, throughout our lives, and so on. Okay, that's the forecast. Now let's bring it back to today's affirmation, which I just realized I did not update. So happy Monday to me. Let me update that really quick so I can bring it up on the screen for you. Not that it makes a huge difference, but my Virgo-ness wants it to look nice. So here it is. Today's affirmation. I see the lessons I'm learning. Kind of going off of what I was just saying. Today's a day where we're kind of like witnessing a lot of what's come up, a lot of what we're learning, a lot of how we're expanding, and witnessing it through that more practical Capricorn lens, as we've just been discussing, you know, really feeling that Capricorn practical, logical energy. So witnessing the lessons we're learning, integrating the lessons we're learning, even just being the observer of, okay, this is how much I've grown. This is what's been coming up for me, and finding that inner parent too that Katie brought up. Like, instead of somebody else having to be like, this is the lesson you're supposed to be learning, we can do that for ourselves. Like, oh, okay, this is what the universe is teaching me right now. I realized I was saying I have Mercury in Capricorn the other day, but I have Mercury in Aquarius, 5 degrees, Sun at 4 degrees. That would be opposing Leo, I guess, then. Yeah, exactly. Mercury in Aquarius, that's fun energy. You communicate differently, right? Rather than if I had to choose between having Mercury in Aquarius and Mercury in Capricorn personally, I would probably choose Mercury in Aquarius. That's just me. But we can't choose when we come into the world, right? So we make the best with the placements we have. And there's nothing wrong with having Mercury in Capricorn either. Might just make you a little bit more cold and practical, right? Yeah, exactly. More alien energy with Mercury in Aquarius. So we're seeing the lessons we're learning. We are observing the lessons we're learning, and we're integrating the lessons we're learning today. All right. Venus in Capricorn. So you're having your Venus return probably very soon if it didn't already happen, which is fun. Okay. Let's finish up with our card pull. I'm going to pull from this Cosmic Wild Oracle deck, this fun gold and black deck. See what message needs to come through for the week ahead. It's interesting. We have a more low-key week coming up. There aren't any major planetary shifts happening. We do have the last quarter moon in Aries. We'll get to that later in the week. So we do have the last quarter moon, but in general, energetically, it's a big week for releasing, letting go, winding down as we make our way towards the new moon on December 23rd. So just know that there isn't anything crazy happening this week. We'll see, though, if the universe has some other guidance for us. So as I'm shuffling, you know the drill. This is your final chance to ask any other questions, share any other insights. Let me know your intention for the week ahead if you want to write it out and put it out into the universe. Or if you have any fun plans this week, too. We would love to witness those and honor them. Okay. Got a few people on Instagram, a few of you on YouTube, and all of us together here. Let's just take a nice deep breath and send our energy into the cards as we exhale. This is not the kind of question I was talking about, just FYI. But maybe the card will give you some insight on whether your team is going to win tonight, okay? All right, here we go. Nice deep breath, the deepest breath you've taken all day. Breathing in from the root and up through the crown. Nice and deep. Here we go. Hold it and exhale. What do we need to know? The ant. Perseverance is the card that came through. And I pulled it in reverse. I think this deck does have reverse meanings. So let's see. The ant. The very first card in the deck, I believe. Let me see. Yep. First card in the deck. That is powerful in itself. Here is what it means. Also, it doesn't have a different meaning in reverse. So we're just going to take it for what it says. Here we go. Perseverance, community, cooperation. Be open and see things in a new way. This is the time to face your shadows. Ooh. The ant asks you to start planning. Put in hard work and energy to forge your dreams. Work with diligence, conviction, and work with others to turn your dreams into reality. Despite their tiny size, they are immensely strong with great will and accomplishment. Never forget that great strength lies in your spirit. Ask yourself, what is my goal? And the action it says to take is to be selfless. Ant spirit coming through. This feels very Saturn, right? Like even ants, we think of them as like workers, they're all in a line. Ants feel like very Saturn Capricorn energy now that I think about it, carrying things on their back, very much like little soldiers, like all following the rules, following the line. But this is a beautiful reminder that there's power in community and perseverance. An ant, have you ever seen an ant carrying like a giant crumb that's like 3 times its size? And you're like, how is it doing that? I feel like that's the energy we can channel today with the sun forming a sextile to Saturn. And even like, what is my goal? Be selfless. Very powerful messages coming through. And very aligned with a lot of the energy we've been talking about of being our inner parent and integrating the lessons we're learning. But also, I love that we got this card that asks, what is my goal? Because Saturn energy, the Capricorn energy we've been touching on, is very much helping us to, it feels like with the sun and Sagittarius, Saturn and Aquarius connecting with each other, kind of like looking at that map, right? But you can kind of compare it to the Capricorn analogy of climbing a mountain as well. Not just looking at a map of like, where am I going? But what's my goal? Where am I trying to get to? How am I going to get to the top? So maybe there's a redirection, but it feels more just like a checking in with what we've learned about how we've climbed so far and what skills we can use to keep climbing, what goals we can set that are realistic and practical with all of this Capricorn energy too. You are right on time, Rachel. Nick says, need to film more shots of my zombie kamikaze pilots for my no-budget film. We'll try to work on that this week. Been putting it off for a while. I know that feeling, Nick. But just like you said when you were waiting for the stream to start, I'm going to use your own wisdom here. Sure, the show will start with divine timing. I'm sure the movie will be finished in divine timing. Face one's shadows in the shadow period. Ooh, that's good too. Remember we talked about Mercury's shadow period beginning today, and then this card reminds us to face our shadows. And also, I love that the same card talks about facing our shadows and persevering. That feels like very Saturnian energy. And when we talk about Saturn energy, Capricorn energy, I just really see them as kind of the same, right? Because Saturn rules Capricorn. It's like moving forward despite the shadows, despite the hardships, despite how heavy the crumb is on your back, being the ant and just continuing to make the journey forward to get to your destination. Katie says, I love this. I can achieve my dreams. I can work with others. I have what I need to be there for others. My children can get what they need from me, even if I'm parenting myself, especially if you're parenting yourself. How many of us didn't get to witness parents working through how to parent themselves, right? That's a teaching moment for them. Watching you work through your own stuff is teaching them how to work through their own stuff. So, I think maybe you're being hard on yourself. Like, it's okay if I don't have it all figured out. I'm working on it. But also, your kids watching you work on it, your kids watching you figure it out is one of the greatest blessings you can give them. Nobody's perfect. So don't be so hard on yourself. You're doing a great job. Rachel says, needed this card, feeling a bit stressed at work, but such a great reminder to just keep pushing through, really wanting better communication in the workplace, but take control and just step into my authority. Yes, and the sun and Saturn are connecting, giving us that natural authority today too. So it doesn't feel like a taking charge necessarily, but just like owning what we can control, owning our authority, being the authority of our own energy too. That's kind of where that inner parent comes in, like being able to like handle ourselves so we don't let other people's BS trigger us, right? And if you need to take a break too, that's fine, but you have the power to keep pushing through. And today, pushing through resistance can lead to healing. So just remember that. I got you, Katie. the way we see you, here, we all see how wonderful you are, how mindful you are as a parent, and that is incredible. It's incredible to witness somebody working through their own stuff so that they can be a better example for their kids. And I know many of you are in that situation too. Same with Bree. I could say the same exact message to you, Bree. Yeah. The mamas out there who are bettering themselves, learning about themselves, working through trauma, working through healing, like you are doing such important work on this planet, raising the next generation of humans who are hopefully more emotionally intelligent than many of us have been for much of our lives. So just super proud of everybody, regardless of if you're a parent or not, doing the work, bettering yourself, especially today when we talk about giving advice to other people, getting advice from other people. It might not even be a conversation you're having. It might just be you being in your authority, you being in your power, influencing someone else in this very leadership, authoritative way of just like, this is what I'm doing, this is how I'm doing it. And that can be really influential on a day like today to other people just witnessing you and doing you. So yeah. All right, everybody. I think that's going to do it for this episode of Transits today. I hope that the guidance that came through resonated with you. I hope that this helped you get in a great mindset for the day you have ahead. And if you're new here, welcome. We love to have you here. If you are returning, I love you. So grateful that you continue to show up for yourself, show up for this community. And I hope you have an amazing rest of your day, an amazing rest of your 12/12. There's a lot of magic in the numbers today, so lean into that too. Yes. Hopefully I'll get back on a routine here, but I guess I need to tap into my own inner authority today too. So that's the lesson I'm integrating and learning. But I'm appreciative of everybody who continues to show up regardless. So yes, I will see you all tomorrow. Until I see you next, have a beautiful day and stay curious. Thank you so much for joining us and aligning with the energy of the universe today. If you enjoyed this morning's episode of Transits Today, you can join our live astrology discussion every weekday morning right here wherever you're watching. And head to thespiritualjournalist.com to read your daily astrology forecast and browse the Spiritual Shop. The most fun way to help keep these forecasts free and support more content like this is to buy yourself a little something on our website. But if you're feeling extra generous, you can also buy me a coffee to fuel future live streams. Just tap the link in the description or head to buymeacoffee.com and search The Spiritual Journalist. And speaking of, you can also tune in to The Spiritual Journalist, our weekly live interview where we ask our guests questions about everything from crystals and manifestation to mental health and the environment. Those conversations stream live right here wherever you're watching now every Tuesday. I'm so grateful you found us here, and I can't wait for our next conversation.